Hey, Bold, and the beautiful fans. We have got your early spoilers for the week of June 15th through the 19th, and there is so much cooking right now in the world of Los Angeles fashion and family drama that I honestly do not even know where to start. We're going to see Steffy Forrester's suspicions reaching a whole new boiling point as she corners Katie Logan and demands some real answers. Plus, Wyatt Spencer is being put on the spot by his dad and his brother, and on top of that, there is a legendary diamond that needs to be tracked down and placed in exactly the right hands at exactly the right moment. It is a lot. It is a whole lot. And I am absolutely here for every second of it. I'm Belinda from Soap Dirt. And before we get into everything coming the week of June 15th, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not already following us. We are putting out content every single week, and you genuinely do not want to be the last person in the room who knows what is happening on the show. Okay? Okay. Let's go. And as we always do on Early Edition Day, we're going to start with what is still coming the rest of this week before we dive headfirst into next week's big moments. So let's kick things off there. On Wednesday, June 10th, we're getting a mini preview of the Hope Logan collection, and the way this is being staged is genuinely interesting. Dee and Hope are off to the sides, backstage, tucked behind the curtains, peeking out at the runway and watching the models walk. Hope is taking notes on Dee's designs. And there is something about the positioning of these two that feels very deliberate to me. Like, they're not front and center, they're not owning the room the way you would expect Hope to own a moment like this after everything she has been through professionally. I think they are intentionally staying out of sight. Maybe it is about not tipping their hand too early. Maybe it is about keeping the whole operation under wraps just a little longer before the full reveal. But whatever the reason, they are hanging back and observing, which actually tells you a lot about where Hope's head is right now. She is not rushing this. She is being calculated. That is a different Hope than we have seen in a while. Katie, on the other hand, is not hiding from anything or anyone. She is right there at the end of the runway, completely in her element, grinning from ear to ear at everything she is seeing. And honestly, based on the outfits we have gotten glimpses of, she has every reason to be smiling. The designs are youthful, they are fresh, they are cute. There is a lightness to them that feels like Hope returning to her roots, and it is genuinely exciting to see. And can we just take a moment to appreciate how fortunate it is for this whole operation that even when Steffy fired Dee and pushed him out of Forrester Creations, he never actually stopped designing? He went to work for his dad Deacon at Il Giardino, but the sketches never stopped. The portfolio never stopped growing. He was drawing and dreaming and creating the entire time, which means when Katie came knocking, he was not starting from zero. He had something real and polished and ready to go. That kind of quiet dedication is the mark of someone who genuinely loves what they do. Now, the fun part of all of this is how much trouble Hope and Katie are already in, and the launch has not even happened yet. Hope is lying directly to her mother Brooke's face, and that is never a situation that ends well for anyone in this family. And Katie made that very carefully worded deal about not hiring anyone from Forrester Creations. Except Hope is not technically a Forrester. She is a Logan. And Dee is a Spencer Logan. So Katie is technically keeping to the letter of the agreement while absolutely violating the spirit of it, and she knows it. And Brooke is going to figure it out, and when that happens, the fallout is going to be spectacular. I honestly cannot wait. Also on Wednesday, Dylan is carrying some anxiety about whether her job at Forrester Creations could be in jeopardy. And I think there are a couple of different threads that could be pulling at her here. One possibility is that it is about her relationship with RJ and knowing full well that RJ has a history of going to Ridge and demanding people get fired when their presence is inconvenient. And let me just remind everyone of the full picture here, because if Dylan does not know this story, she absolutely should. RJ and Ivy went to Ridge together and literally demanded that both Will and Dylan be let go from Forrester Creations, just because their existence as platonic roommates might cause stress for Elektra. That is not a man who has a healthy relationship with workplace boundaries. That is a man who weaponizes his family connections when he feels threatened. If Dylan knew that RJ lobbied for her termination simply because of where she was living, do you think she would be spending time with him? I genuinely do not think she would. That is the kind of information that changes everything. The other angle here is that maybe Dylan is worried about the perfume line she is working on with Daphne, and some kind of friction there is putting her position at risk. Either way, Dylan is on edge, and that stress is going to affect every interaction she has this week. Moving to Thursday, June 11th, Hope gets some disappointing news, and I am trying to figure out exactly what that is. A few options come to mind. 1. It could be feedback from the preview that does not land the way she hoped, and for someone who has put her whole heart into this comeback, any criticism is going to sting. 2. It could be Brooke calling Hope out after talking to Katie and putting together what the dirty little secret comment actually means. 3. It could be Steffy pushing back hard on Hope's leave of absence, because that storyline got dropped without a real resolution, and it feels like unfinished business that is due to come back around. Bold kind of walked away from it mid-conversation, and I think it is about to resurface in a big way. Now, singer Elsa Esnolt is back on Bold and the Beautiful this week, returning as Fanny Grayson, and if you're a regular viewer, you know Fanny is a French fashion enthusiast who keeps turning up at the biggest Forrester Creations events. She was there for the Eric vs. Ridge fashion showdown. She's been woven into the fabric of these major fashion moments, and her reappearance right now is very well timed. I am genuinely curious about whether Fanny has a connection to Daphne that goes beyond just being a fashion lover, given that they are both from France. Are they friends? Are they rivals? Is there history there? I think there could be something really fun to explore with that pairing. And the big question is whether Katie invites Fanny to preview the new collection without dropping any Forrester-adjacent names, or whether Fanny is actually there to look at Eric's new couture line at Forrester and ends up stumbling into Katie's world by accident. Also on Thursday, Ridge has apparently started to pick up on some signals that RJ might be moving on now that Elektra is firmly with Will. And look, from what I observed in recent episodes, RJ and Dylan hanging out feels less like the beginning of a romance and more like two people with broken hearts keeping each other company. There were no fireworks. There was no real crackling chemistry. There was just a lot of shared sadness and two people who want the people they cannot have. Now, that does not mean the show will not try to push RJ and Dylan into romantic territory because Bold has done stranger things. But even if they go there, I do not think RJ is going to just let go of his feelings for Elektra overnight. That is not how he operates. He fixates. He lingers. He holds on longer than he should. And there is always the possibility that Brad Bell could take the softer road and just have all four of them, Will, Elektra, RJ, and Dylan, somehow settle into an awkward but civil double-date situation where everyone pretends the romantic history between them is just no big deal. I hope they do not do that. That would be a waste of perfectly good tension. But I have seen it happen on this show before. On Friday, June 12th, Katie is in the hot seat and Steffy is demanding answers. Now I have been going back and forth on exactly what triggered this confrontation, and I have a few theories. 1. Steffy may have followed Hope at some point and saw her headed to Spencer Tower. Which, yes, technically that is where her husband Liam works, so Hope can always claim she was there for completely innocent reasons. But Steffy is not going to buy the flimsy story about the leave of absence if she is already suspicious, and she may start connecting dots in a way that makes Katie very uncomfortable very quickly. 2. If Fanny was spotted over at whatever Katie is doing and Steffy found out, you know that is going to set her off. 3. And this one is spicy. Steffy may have figured out that Katie has been quietly scooping up influencers who were previously in Forrester Creations' orbit. Pulling influencers away from Forrester events to bring buzz to a competing collection is exactly the kind of move that would make Steffy see red. And she would not be entirely wrong to be upset about it. But here is the thing, if that is what Steffy goes after, Katie has a very clean defense. The deal she made with Brooke only covered the prohibition on hiring anyone who is a Forrester or a Spencer. Poaching influencers was never part of that agreement. And technically, Katie can say that with a completely straight face, because it is literally true. Whether Steffy accepts that answer or not is another matter entirely. Also on Friday, Remy gets hit with a major surprise when he goes to visit Dee at his little apartment above Il Giardino. He is flipping through Dee's latest sketches, and he is completely wowed. He cannot believe the level that Dee has reached. He is gushing about how Dee has stepped up in the fashion world and that this is real, serious, legitimate design work. And I have to say, Remy's flattery landing like this opens up a very interesting question about whether D is going to soften toward him. These two have history, and D is in a new and exciting chapter of his career, and that kind of momentum can change how you see the people from your past. Could Remy start working his way back in? It is possible. I would not rule it out. Also, I am deeply curious about whether we are going to find out that Sheila Carter has somehow ended up as Remy's roommate, or maybe it is Finn. There are some interesting living situation possibilities floating around, and I want answers. The one thing I really, truly hope does not happen is Remy going back and mentioning to Dylan that D is working with Hope on this new collection. Because that is a straight line from Remy to Dylan to chaos, and nobody needs that particular dominoes effect right now. Alright, now let's get into the full week of June 15th through the 19th, and there is genuinely a lot to unpack. Wyatt Spencer is on the hook. He owes his dad Bill and his brother Liam a proper answer about whether he is getting involved with a Logan fashion house, and on top of that, he has got the task of actually getting his hands on the real gem, the hope for the future diamond. And let me take you back through the history here, because it is actually kind of complicated. The last solid information we had was that Wyatt was the legal owner of that diamond. He acquired it, he held it, and then when he and Hope got married, he gifted it to her as a symbol of their relationship. But then, as we all remember, that marriage did not last. Wyatt and Hope split up, and there was this back and forth, unclear situation where neither of them firmly claimed ownership after the relationship ended. So in theory, based on everything we know from Bold and the beautiful history, that diamond should be sitting with either Wyatt or Hope. It is not like it went to a neutral third party. This is a deeply personal piece of jewelry tied to a deeply personal chapter of both their lives. So now Bill is upset, really upset, about Brooke slapping Katie, and I think that incident has fully lit a fire under him. He is going to double down on the big blue Hope diamond plot with everything he has got. Bill Spencer, with a point to prove and a grudge to settle, is one of the most dangerous forces in all of daytime television. He does not do anything halfway, and he does not forgive being disrespected. The whole team, Bill, Katie, Hope, Liam, and Dee, is rushing to get this launched together fast enough to blindside Forrester Creations before they even see it coming. The element of surprise is their biggest asset right now, and they know it. If Forrester gets wind of what is actually being planned in time to respond, the advantage evaporates. So the clock is ticking and the pressure is enormous. I am also extremely curious about what showstopper D is going to design to be the centerpiece of this launch, something worthy of being displayed alongside a diamond as significant as the hope for the future stone. That is a high bar. That is not just a pretty dress on a runway. That is a piece that needs to carry the weight of an entire narrative, an entire comeback story, an entire statement about who Hope Logan is and what she represents. D has grown enormously as a designer, and I genuinely believe he is up to the challenge, but I want to see what he creates. I want to see how it lands. And the relationship between D and Hope as creative partners is something I find really compelling to watch. There is an ease between them, a genuine excitement about the work, and a shared investment in making this succeed. Hope was frustrated and hurt when Steffy fired D and replaced him with Thomas and Zend, because the aesthetic shifted away from what she had envisioned for her line. Those two did not deliver the vision Hope had in her head. And now, with D back, the designs are landing differently. There is something that feels right about it. And I think the audience is picking up on that energy just as much as the characters are. Now, will RJ and Dylan move toward an actual official date this week? And more importantly, is RJ genuinely going to step back and respect the fact that Elektra has chosen Will? That is the real question I need answered. Because RJ saying the respectful, mature things in one episode and then backsliding into fixation in the next is very much within his behavioral patterns. I will believe the growth when I see it sustained over multiple episodes, not just one or two scenes. Remy is going to keep working his angles and trying to worm his way back into Dee's world, and I expect that effort to intensify now that Dee is clearly doing something exciting and impressive. Nothing makes an ex more persistent than watching the person they lost start thriving. Remy is going to be around. He is going to be strategic about it. And whether Dee eventually lets him back in or firmly shuts the door is a story I am very invested in watching play out. There may also be some legal recourse coming around the whole situation with Katie poaching Hope from Forrester. The leave of absence framing was always going to be thin cover, and if Forrester starts looking into it seriously, there are real legal arguments to be made about contractual obligations and what Hope's employment arrangement actually required of her. Ridge and Brooke are already doing exactly what you would expect, smack-talking Katie's fashion house, predicting disaster, assuring each other that Bill and Katie are going to end up eating crow before all of this is over. And look, Ridge and Brooke have been wrong about a lot of things over the years, but they are not entirely without logic here. Launching a fashion house is genuinely hard. Doing it in secret, in a rush, while actively trying to blindside your biggest competitor is even harder. And doing it in the shadow of Forrester Creations' legacy, with a team that is still finding its footing, carries real risk. But here's the thing, Katie is smart. She is savvy. And Bill Spencer's resources, combined with Hope's cultural cachet and Dee's genuine design talent, is not exactly a flimsy foundation. This could actually work. And if it does, the look on Ridge's face is going to be absolutely priceless. We also really genuinely need an update on Deacon and Taylor because at some point Dee and Hope both have to tell their dad that they're working together over at Logan. Deacon has been somewhat on the periphery of this story, and it feels like it is time to pull him closer to it. He's going to have feelings about all of this. Big feelings. And the conversation between Deacon and his kids about what they are building together is one I am looking forward to a lot. And while I am on the subject of things I need the show to address, we are way overdue on an update on Daphne and Carter's baby-making project. That storyline had real heat and real emotional stakes when it was active, and it has been sitting on the back burner for too long. I want to know where they stand. I want to know what is happening with that potential child, that potential family, and whether Carter and Daphne are going to face the complications that come with that kind of arrangement. And Sheila Carter. Where is Sheila Carter? What has Sheila been up to? Because Sheila going quiet is never actually a sign that everything is fine. It is usually a sign that something is being plotted. Something is being planned. And I need the show to check in with her, so we know what is coming because you do not just leave Sheila on the board and ignore her. She does not sit still. She never has. So that is your complete breakdown for the week of June 10th through June 19th on Bold and The Beautiful. It is a packed, drama-filled stretch of episodes with fashion, family tension, secret alliances, and at least one very legendary diamond at the center of it all. Enjoy every second of it because this show is really building towards something and I think the payoff is going to be very satisfying. Thank you so much for being a loyal listener. We appreciate every single one of you more than you know. Please follow us wherever you get your podcasts because you absolutely do not want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. We will catch you next time.